It's time now for another edition of the Pigskin Preview, and this time we're going to go to the north side of the state line and Beloit Memorial, and they have a new football coach, Rodney Wedig, who is no stranger in Wisconsin to success, and he's moving over to a program that needs a little help. First of all, Coach, congratulations on that new job.
Yeah, thanks. Very excited to get going here. We've had a week of practicing under our belt here, and like you said, can't wait to see how we stack up here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, you guys are like a week ahead of Illinois, so you really are in preparation mode right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we scrimmage already on Friday, so we've got 1 week down, and our first game's in about 12 days, 13 days.
Yeah, the 22nd. It's not too far away at all. I know you get this question asked a lot, but why does a coach leave a program like you had at Bigfoot? You had 3 state championship appearances. You won in 2009 in the D4 state title game. You had 7 in a row conference championships for the Rock Valley South, and you also had a 52-game winning streak. What makes a coach want to make that move from Bigfoot to a school like Beloit Memorial that's really struggled over the last few years?
Well, I've been to 2 programs before Beloit, and both of them were rebuilding jobs at first. And I just felt, professionally, I'd done everything I could at Bigfoot. I felt like, I wanted one more challenge here. I'm not as young as I used to be, so I thought I could try to get this get this school turned around. And I'm very excited. Like I said, it's going to be work, and I've got to be patient. But I'm excited for what I've seen so far.
And I know I read in some earlier articles around Beloit about you had a lot of kids come out, but it seems like you're going to have a lot of younger kids this year in your program.
Yeah, we are definitely not senior dominated. I think right now we've only got 11 seniors on the team. So, it's definitely a rebuilding project, but the young kids have really bought in, and, we had a good off season. A lot of freshmen, sophomores working out. So, like I said, we'll start from the bottom and just keep getting better.
I know ability is a big part of a football program. You got to have kids that can do the job. But how much is this a mental thing as well with kids that have been used to losing and maybe hadn't really worried about winning too much?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's a lot, just mental, because one of our first hurdles, and we've already discussed, the mental part of the game, because when you're used to losing, the first mistake that happens, you have a tendency to kind of say, here we go again, and that's the big thing we're discussing. Is, we've got to learn to fight through mistakes. They're going to happen, and we've got to keep playing. It's obviously it's the strength part of it, the talent part of it, but a lot of it is just the mental part of the game.
And when you look at it, are you going to put in a new offense and a new defense at Beloit Memorial this year?
Yes, absolutely. We've begun work already installing both. So again, it's in its infancy here, but every day putting on another new wrinkle, and like I said, hopefully by next week, Friday, we are ready to go.
And offensively, I noticed you only have like 2 starters back from last year, so you're rebuilding that whole offense as well right now. Yeah.
We're really, our big thing is we're really trying to establish a front 5, 5 big guys up front that can really move some people, so we can establish a running game. I know they had a hard time running the ball last year, and we want to have some balance and be able to move the ball, and that takes pressure off your defense too, because, if you're throwing the ball over, you go 3 and out, and don't take much time off the clock, your defense is on the field a lot.
Is there any kids you're counting on, though, to be that leader for you on offense as you start the new change at Beloit?
Well, Austin Gibson and Taylor Williams are the 2 starters that are back. C.J. Gronzi Jr., he stepped in pretty well as a quarterback. Kentrell Yarborough and Sharif Atlas, I think they're going to share the running duties. And then, the one probably the biggest, the nicest surprise I've had is big Carl Saladino. Is a big, he's a 6'4", 290-pound lineman. He really worked hard on this offseason, got a lot stronger. I think he's going to be anchoring our line with senior Anthony Bogart.
And defensively, you got to have a good defense. You can score a lot of points, but if the defense doesn't do their job, and I know that's always a tough transition when you come in and have a team with a losing record.
Yeah, and that's really been our biggest emphasis. Is we've really got to learn how to play defense. I mean, just fundamentally sound and make sure everybody's on the same page. Because I know that's been a weakness. The last year, the average is giving up 35 points in the first half. Games. So we've really got to take time. We've spent a lot of time on defense. I work with the linebackers, and we've come a long way as far as just learning our read keys, fundamental stuff. So we've got to get some people to step up on defense, especially.
So are you using a lot of the things that you used at Bigfoot with the Beloit Memorial this year?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Pretty much everything. I mean, the passing game, Coach Dement's got the offensive coordinator, and we kept a lot of the same passing stuff he had. Meshed that with my running game, but defensively, yeah, we're going to learn what we did at Bigfoot. We've had a lot of success with what we've done at Bigfoot defensively, and I did the same thing when I took over at Bigfoot. I don't care what we're on offense, but we're going to be tough, and we're going to learn how to play defense. And that's kind of the approach we're taking, is let's find some people who play defense, put in a system that fits our talents. And I think Coach Obernetter is the head of the defense, and he's done a great job working with the guys we've got to put them in place to be successful.
Are you going to have to use a 2 platoon this year, or are you going to have kids going both ways at all?
Unfortunately, we're still going to have kids going both ways, but I'm looking in the future. I'm hoping in a couple of years we can go to a full 2 platoon. It just makes practice easier. We can get more things done in a shorter period of time. So that isn't our goal this year. Unfortunately, we are going to have a few kids who go in both ways.
And special teams, I'm a big special teams guy. They can win or lose a game for you sometimes, and sometimes it happens when you don't expect it to.
Yes, it's true. And that's a big thing. I've been, everyone kind of talks about Bigfoot and the run we've had and our conference record, but one of the more unique things, too, is I've had the first team all-conference kicker at Bigfoot for like 9 years in a row. Mm-hmm. But every year going in, I had a former soccer guy, that played soccer in youth that came to football camp and did nothing but kick for us. And so that's I'm trying to find a guy, that can specialize in kicking and punter. My kicker and punter from the last 3 years at Bigfoot, he went to North Dakota State, and he can kick and punt for them. So, that's one thing. You spend so much time installing offense and defense, and all of a sudden you look around and say, hey, we probably should find a kid that can kick the ball, huh? So we're working on that.
And, you're going into a new conference for you. You've been in the Rock Valley in the South Division. You're going to the Big 8. What do you think about the Big 8, and what do you know about it?
Well, I know a lot of the coaches in there pretty well, and I'll tell you, it's a good league, and all the teams are going to be well coached. We did at Bigfoot scrimmage Madison West, so I know a little bit about it, but it's a good old-fashioned Wisconsin league. It's still, for the most part, run dominant. You've got to have some tough kids, and you got to be able to run the ball, and you got to play defense. It's nothing too fancy, but what I know is that that there are some very good teams, but it's close. I mean, there are going to be games that come down to a play or two for almost everybody. So, I think right now, Sun Prairie and Middleton and Verona and Madison Memorial and Madison Follett, those have been kind of the top 5 for a while. I think it's one of those where we may be a year or two away to try to get into that top 5 in the playoffs. But like I said, we're going to play hard every game and hope for the best.
And you do open up August 22nd against Janesville Craig. Do you know anything about them as you get ready? Coach McCormick, he's been there now for 5-6 years, and he's continued building that program. And actually, they could be an up-and-coming program this year because they've got 8 returning starters on defense. So they'll be tough there. I know they lost their quarterback and one of their speedy backs, but I think that's going to be a very tough game. And then our home opener, Sun Prairie, who made the state championship 2 years ago. So it's not an easy task to start off with. Yeah, and when you look at it, Coach, you're getting ready to this fresh start and everything. Does it make you feel a little bit younger, Coach?
It absolutely does. It really does. It's re-energized me. It's one of those things that, like I said, it's just kind of the way I'm built. As I said earlier, I kind of accomplished everything I could at Bigfoot. I'm hopefully, another 10 years I can start talking about retirement. So it does. It makes me feel young again. Heck, I lost my voice just as, at Bigfoot they're almost on autopilot. Where this year, now, a lot more coaching up and a lot more, making sure people hear me. So, but it's been, like I said, I really am excited. The kids have been great. They really have. I've got a nice group of young men. We're just trying to give them a direction and hope they get taste some success.
I always said good coaches like to coach, and I think that sounds like you, Coach.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for being on today. We sure appreciate it, and good luck to Beloit Memorial.
All right, thanks very much.
We've been talking to Beloit Memorial head football coach in his first year there, Rodney Wedig, and this is Dave Schmidt on StatelineSportsHub.com.